All right, thank you, everyone. Welcome to What's New in DevOps Tooling. I am Nate Avery. I am an outbound product manager for Google. I cover our DevOps tools. So that kind of puts me here. That's me with a beard. And this is what we'll talk about today. I'm going to do a quick introduction, which we just kind of did. We'll talk about some of the challenges that exist within DevOps. We'll talk about our partners. We'll talk about the updates, of course. Then I want to dabble a little bit in Dora, because I strongly feel that Dora is a big part of where folks will be successful in DevOps. Then we'll do a review, and should there be time left, we'll do a Q&A. You are going to hear this a lot. If you don't hear this, you're going to hear something like it. And just for those who have their Cloud Next bingo cards, Gemini. All right, anyways, it was a freebie. There, I've fulfilled my contractual obligation. So we know that customers want to build great apps, and they want to build those apps as quickly and as easily as possible. They want to do it in a frictionless way. And they want to do it with the tools that they love. Developers are particular about those tools. So we now see a lot of new tools that have come into play with AI. And as they're generating these new apps that also leverage AI, what can we do to make that a better experience? So we've decided to work more with our partners, work a little more closely with them. We've always had relationships with our partners in our DevOps tooling. I may have even spoken to some of you before about how different tools could be swapped out, and you would have the option to either use them together or separately. Well, now we're being very, very direct in that you can now bring those third-party tools, and we'll talk about some of those today. This is a very simple pipeline. It is intentionally meant to be simple. However, the things that are simple can be very, very deceptive. You would think that this would be the easiest thing in the world to make happen, right? I'm going to build some software. I'm going to create an artifact. I'll store it in an artifact repository. Then we're going to deploy it, maybe with a little bit of orchestration around it, and then it'll be up and running, and everyone will be happy. However, it doesn't always quite work like that, especially since each of those steps there tends to be used by different stakeholders. And those stakeholders sometimes have different requirements and different needs. So for instance, a security personnel might want super in-depth scans, and someone else may want an SBOM or who knows what else they may need. And so that complicates things a little bit. It's hard to find a single one-stop shop solution when you're doing that, and particularly we find our customers are turning to best-of-breed products. And it kind of works. I think everyone in here has probably tried to make these tools work together and bring them together, and you find maybe a little bit of a gotcha here or a little bit of a gotcha there. Most of the time we can get it going, but it may take a Herculean effort, and someone has to play hero ball, and that's not the way it should be. We really want to make this as frictionless a process as possible. So here are some of the challenges. I think we all know these already. Just bringing things together is tough. A lot of times you have a pipeline that you get built, and there's probably some kind of a gotcha. So now we can start looking at how do we make this thing better? You know, what are we going to do? How do we make magic? Which really there is no magic. It's just going to be us doing a lot of engineering work, but it sounds better. So we're going to work with our partners. This is a tough problem to fix by yourself, so we're going to work with our partners to help us improve developer velocity. These are some of those partners. Since we look at the experience all the way from ideation to runtime, there's a lot of stuff that happens in between. You can't do it really with just one person or one product. And so you also have different targets. Sometimes you're going to deploy to GKE, sometimes you're going to deploy to Cloud Run. Sometimes you're going to do MLOps work, so you need to maybe bring in LLMs. As you're writing code, there might be a need for assistance in your development or in your testing. And that means you need a lot of partners. These here are just some of them. Here at the show, downstairs, you've probably seen far more of them. And as things go on, as time goes on, you'll hear about more and more of these. So, this is similar to what was shown before. We take a standard operational CI/CD pipeline, but what has happened here is I've put our partners in places where you would normally see our tooling. So with Cloud Workstations, you have the option to change your IDE. You can use Vim, you can use JetBrains, you can use Posit. You can do all kinds of really neat things, and we've been doing that for a long time, almost since the start of that product. In Cloud Code, we're going to have a really neat integration with Snyk so that you have security brought into the mix. Source code repositories. Most of you, if you've been downstairs in the hall, you may have seen some of what we're doing with GitLab. There was also a very well-attended audience right here in this room about that as well. And in addition to GitLab, we work with everyone else, Bitbucket, GitHub, and all the others. Don't know why that one was escaping me. When it comes to build, we know a lot of folks still out there have Jenkins. You can use GitLab. When you're doing your artifacts, of course, lots of folks have JFrog. This is really just a way to show that we understand that our partners play a key role in what we all do when we try to make an application work. As we compile it and as we try to get it to run. And then as you'll get all the way over to the operations side, we're going to work with partners like Datadog and others to also make that process better and easier for you. This list here is the stuff that we've done for our tools, the Google-specific tools. So if anyone had a question about it, yes, Google will still make first-party tools. And this list here is part of the reason why, right? All of these things have come out of our teams, and our partners tell us that they're useful. Our customers tell us that they're useful, and we're going to keep doing that. You know, we're going to keep innovating. We're going to keep adding features where necessary, and we'll also be working with our partners to fill gaps. We're also going to keep creating new tools when necessary. You look at AppHub, and it provides an application-centric view of how an application can be organized. And when you do that, it changes a lot of the mechanics around what you do when you're troubleshooting, right? You're no longer just thinking, hey, I need to go to the network console, or I need to go here or there. You can kind of see what within that application, where that context actually matters for the things that you're looking at pinpointing. We also have Developer Connect. Developer Connect is kind of neat. Again, as we work with more partners, we want to make it easier to connect to those partners. So that's where Developer Connect comes in. And then Secure Source Manager. Some have asked, what is our source code solution? What is that going to look like? And we have SSM for customers who have very strict security needs. And I would say that if you believe that you are one of these customers, please talk to your field sales rep, and they can get you more information. However, remember that we do also work with all of the other tools that we talked about before, right? All those other vendors like the GitHubs of the world, GitLab, Bitbucket. So there are options. That's what we hope it all looks like at the end. um, we just want things to kind of be happy, right? We just want to make our stuff go. And so when we combine all these different features and all of these tool sets are starting to work together and they're starting to work in some form of symphony, a symphony of synergies, then we can create a better developer experience. So now what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit more about individual partner efforts to give you a sense of where some of this stuff is going. And the first one to start with is GitLab, because it's a pretty big one. It's pretty major. We're delivering a comprehensive, integrated DevOps experience. I know that sounds like a lot, but it is true. As customers, you're going to be able to find GitLab right there in the Google Cloud Console. So that's a little bit newer than what we've done with other tools and other partners, but it isn't dramatically newer. In fact, if you look at the console today and you scroll all the way down, there's a section for partners, and GitLab's going to be in there. This went live yesterday. The docs are live as well, and so anyone can try this right now. And word of caution, it is in public preview, which is, I guess in everyone else's terms, like beta. However, we are still taking all the feedback that we can from it. We'd love to hear your experiences so that we can make it better. And as we talk about making it better, it's like, what does integration mean? It's more than just being able to find it in the console. It has to do with your role-based access control and getting folks into it. And for that, we're using Workload Identity Federation. So that should lower that barrier. We're creating scripts so that you can create runners a lot more simply. We're going to have screens in there that show the artifacts that are both in artifact registry, as well as and then we can go the other way from artifact registry and show the items that are within GitLab's registry. So it will actually feel like a complete solution. At the end of the day, we'll be able to judge success by seeing how often a person has to change context by leaving the GitLab environment. We're also working with Snyk. A lot of you know Snyk from their great work in the security space, and we're going to have some pretty cool capabilities here. This gives us another option of shifting security to the left, as a lot of folks do, but it's also giving us a bit of a shift down because we're going to give those developers some help. They're not just going to be told that there's vulnerability, but we're also going to hopefully give them advice that they love and advice that's useful in terms of fixing those problems. Datadog. Datadog is an interesting example, and it's one where we're integrating with them such that we can bring additional value to your customers, well, our customers, by training Gemini. Now, if we train Gemini with the data sets from Datadog and others, you'll be able to ask it more intelligent questions and questions that have, for your customers, better answers. So we want to, again, make it so that things are context aware, you don't have to keep jumping around between consoles, and you're able to get the answers that mean something to you. So in addition to Datadog, you'll see other vendors like HashiCorp, Elastic, Redis, and quite a few more. Generative AI and the IDE. This is an interesting one because we have a lot of these. I tried going through and looking at all of our different IDE options, and it can be a bit tricky, especially when you start looking at which audience these tools are meant to support. I am a big fan of cloud workstations because I feel like that is the best way to support an enterprise environment. It looks a lot like Visual Studio Code if you use it out the box. You can also change the IDE to whatever you support. if you can containerize it, you can use it for your IDE. It's web-based, and actually the timing is pretty good. We've had reports of folks running it on Chromebooks. It's the real deal. So if you're looking at rolling out multiple machines across your environment, either within a certain region or across the globe, Cloud Workstations is definitely something you want to take a look at. But we also have Colab, and we have Vertex AI Studio, and those are ways that make it really easy for people to onboard. A lot of folks are just now starting to get caught up in AI, and they're starting to understand what it is that they can do. And so it's really neat that we have different products that meet people in different places. It's part of our commitment to meeting customers where they are. Artifact Registry. This is the part where I will talk about a few of the features specific to the Google products themselves. So AR is going to fully supersede Container Registry by March. Not March of this year, of course, but March of next year. Which means if you're still using Container Registry, we urge you to start your migration process. And in order to help folks with that migration process, the team's already created an automation tool that should make things a lot smoother. And if you have any issues with it, please contact us, and we'll be there to help. Artifact analysis. A lot of times it's easy to forget that artifact analysis is a separate product because a lot of us interact with it within Artifact Registry, but it is in fact its own thing. And so for many years, AR and artifact analysis, they've offered support for scanning of the most popular types of operating systems. So in 2023, this was actually expanded. We now can look at tons of other languages and packages, and you're seeing Maven, Go, Python, NPM, and others. So work here hasn't stopped. In fact, what's really cool is we're taking artifact analysis and we're going to use it in other places. So you'll be able to see this inside of GKE Enterprise as well. Oh, and it does now also support generation of FBOMs, as mentioned there, and that is a GA capability. Cloud Build continues to be the workhorse for unopinionated automation. As you can see, the team just hasn't stopped. They haven't stopped creating new experiences and new features and making things more useful to customers. They haven't stopped supporting other vendors. And so we mentioned a few things last year that I believe are worth repeating. The minimum machine type for Cloud Build has been increased. It now stands as an E2 standard 2 type machine. Also, the free tier now has 2,500 built minutes. So a lot of this is to help folks lower that barrier to starting. We want you to get into it. We want you to try it out. And we want you to have success. Cloud Deploy. The Cloud Deploy team has been cranking out improvements fast and steady for a while now. I was going to say a year, but I think it's actually been over a year. And one of the game-changing features that they've released recently is called custom targets. And custom targets is a game changer because now you don't have to just pick between GKE or Cloud Run as a target. You have so many other types. It's pretty much anything that you can define. And so there are examples out there that are out there on GitHub for Helm, Vertex AI, Infrastructure Manager, Terraform, and a few others out there that I'm forgetting off the top of my head here. But it makes things so much easier. So now you're looking at a tool, Cloud Deploy, that doesn't just deploy your applications, but it's also deploying your infrastructure, and it's giving you flexibility in how you do it. And beyond just deploying the infrastructure, the real thrust of it is that it allows you to orchestrate that deployment. You can use canary deployment patterns. You can deploy multiple targets at once. You can have approvals. You can do all sorts of things that happen in real-world environments. You can also tie them into pub subqueries if you need to do something or trigger an event in another system. Automation has also been included, and automation is really kind of neat, and it's one of those things that if you're in Cloud Deploy often enough, you'll find it very simple but very useful. As you progress from one system to another, like say from test to dev to stage to prod, each of those can now be automated. So you can say, hey, look, after the validation step is clear, move it along. You can do the same thing within Canary. After that Canary is good, move it along. And it's just neat. It's just one of those little fit and finish things. It's little stuff like that that kind of excites me. We've also added online creation flow. Online creation flow was a big request for a number of, I guess, since the product went live. It allows you to graphically create your pipeline. You can go in and you don't have to worry about the YAML syntax or full YAML files. You can use you can answer a series of questions and you will have your pipeline created. You can also do a similar set of question and answer responses that generate a release. So, again, I go back to this idea that we've always been committed to helping you get where you're going. We've wanted to meet developers where they are and help them achieve a greater ROI. And so there are tons of tools that we've provided, and now we're starting to bring in more of those tools from our partners. And this should provide, as best as possible, a friction-free experience for folks to get out there and build better AI apps. At the end of the day, that's sort of what we want to do. We want to help you build your apps and make you successful on our platform. And Dora. I added Dora here because I think it's a pretty important element to this story of how things get better in DevOps. And I did find a way to bring it into what's new. I'll let you guys tell me if I did the right thing here, but there is a new version of the Dora new version of the Dora report that was just released. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Dora, it's a framework that helps organizations do continuous improvement. It uses a series of questions, and we ask tons of different people within the IT space lots and lots of questions, and we try to figure out what it is that makes a team productive versus less productive. It's broad, it's survey-based, it's across all industries, all sizes, it's global, with perhaps a little bit of a bias towards the US, but it gives us a great idea for what's really happening in the real world and how people really are using their systems. Here are some of the results. Now, most of these are kind of interesting in that they talk a little bit about culture, and that's the one thing that we tend to forget, especially when we come here to a talk about like what's new. We think about, well, what's new in terms of features, what's new in terms of products, what are the new gadgets, but you also want to take a look at what a healthy culture can do. When you have that healthy culture, it allows for experimentation and it allows for folks to be better. You can figure out if you have a healthier culture by asking things simply like, hey, if someone makes a mistake, is it a blameless environment? Or is experimentation encouraged? You know, how much slack do we give people to do things that are creative and explore a new way to do something? And when they do try to do something, what do we think about that? And really, at the end of the day, it just comes down to psychological safety. This code here You scan it, and you can get a new copy of the report. We're also looking for folks to take the survey. So if you would like to contribute to that, please check this out. There's also a Dora booth downstairs in the Innovation Hive. You can feel free to go to talk to the actual Dora team. And if you have any questions about the methodology or how it is they do what they do, that's definitely the group to talk to. And lastly, I'll end the Dora segment with a plug that they can go out to organizations and perform essentially an assessment to kind of get you a baseline of where you are. This here, you always need a quote. Someone who can say that this was really awesome and this was really cool. And here we know that customers who do these things, customers who are using it, they actually are gaining value in it. And I highly recommend you give Dora a look. And yeah, that brings us to Q&A.